Am I an idiot for telling my sister she would have been a terrible mother? I, male 17, have two sisters, Alice, 29, and Miranda, 33. I am much closer to Alice than I am to Miranda. Miranda is also not on good terms with our parents. Alice has 4 kids and is currently expecting child number 5, while Miranda can't have children which her ex divorced her for. Miranda is very successful in life. She has a nice apartment, works a good job, and earns a decent amount of money. Alice, on the other hand, is struggling financially. She had her first kid right out of high school and got pregnant with her second child soon after, so she decided to become a som to her children while her boyfriend provides for them. Me and my parents try to help them out as much as possible, be it childcare or money, whatever she needs. I love my nieces and nephews. I take them to the park and play with the older ones. I really enjoy it. Miranda doesn't help out with them. She says it's because she's too busy. Well, she works long hours, but she doesn't have kids, so I don't know what she does on weekends. She also doesn't help out financially, which I find unfair since she makes so much money and all she does is spend it on herself, although she does give us very nice gifts for Christmas and birthdays. My parents nag her about it, saying she should give some of her money to Alice monthly, and I agree with that. So, here comes the part where I may have been an idiot. I was at Miranda's place last week, as she baked muffins and invited me over to eat some and catch up. We got on the topic of Christmas presents and I told her some of the stuff I wanted. She nodded and said she would give our parents a coupon for a much-needed vacation and Alice some clothes she had mentioned and also some new boots and jackets for her kids. I was a little stunned she didn't have more for Alice, so I asked, "Why do you only get Alice the bare minimum? You can afford to help out more and you refuse out of spite." Miranda looked at me and laughed. She said it wasn't her business to feed 6 people, that Alice was old enough to make her choices and live with the consequences. She knew what she was getting herself into and that she wouldn't pay Alice's way through life just because she kept having children she couldn't afford. I was stunned at how cold she reacted. I asked her how she could live her life being so selfish and uncaring. And she got angry and told me, "Listen, kid, there are some things you are way too young for to be discussing with me, and this is one of those. Drop the subject or get out." I got really frustrated with her and said something I probably shouldn't have. I told her, "No wonder your husband divorced you, even if you could have children. You would be a terrible mother." Miranda got very quiet and told me to leave and never come back. She has now blocked me on everything, and though I don't agree with her not helping out, I'm starting to feel guilty for what I said. So, am I an idiot? Update. So, it's been a while, and I know I haven't answered any comments because I was too ashamed. And I still am. When my parents and sister found out what I said to Miranda, they were absolutely furious. Alice shouted at me so long my ears were ringing. She looked like she was about to rip my head off. You were right. My sisters had a whole life before I came along and I was too immature to understand the dynamics between them. When I look at my post, I am disgusted about my tone and what I assumed was the truth. Because not only was I an absolute idiot, I was also terribly wrong about a lot of things. Alice never asked for money nor childcare. My parents did that willingly and as I was raised alongside them. They felt more like siblings to me, so I didn't mind. My family also never painted Miranda as the big villain. That was all just me. Because she was already grown and out of the house most of the time when I was little, I just didn't have a deeper connection with her. Maybe I was resentful that she was never there, I can't tell. My parents also didn't really pester Miranda that she should give money to Alice. They only asked her to chip in for bigger presents, which she always did. I was blinded by my love and concern for Alice that I vilified Miranda. I apologized 100 times to Miranda. I wrote her letters, tried calling, went to her apartment. But she wouldn't see me or answer my letters and she is in her right to do so. I hurt her deeply and she doesn't owe me forgiveness. But the reason I made this update in the first place is some, hopefully, good news for you. Miranda has since moved away with her ex. I don't have the whole picture, but they are still very much in love. When his family found out Miranda was infertile, they pestered them to no end, and their marriage didn't withstand that. It was really horrible, which I never knew. My parents said Miranda didn't want me to know the truth, but now that they are in another country, I hope they can be happy again. Also, please don't hate on Alice. She is a wonderful person and a very good mother to all of her kids. Her third pregnancy were twins which they didn't expect and her boyfriend had a vasectomy, but they ended up pregnant regardless with baby number 5, which had been born in the meantime. Her boyfriend has also got a promotion at work and they can now live more comfortably. I know I am in the wrong and that I have a lot of growing to do. I deserve everything you said in the comments. Maybe one day I can have a relationship with Miranda again. But on her terms. If you want to know anything else, let me know. I promise to answer as many comments as I can. No idiots here. You've learned a hard lesson. Making statements that you've said without seeking out more information can lead to the devastating results you've experienced. This can be something that you'll feel shame over for a long time. But if you do some self-reflection, you can use the results of it to make you more compassionate, kind, and empathetic. You're the idiot. I remember gasping when I read your original post because it was so unkind. It sounds like you've learned a very tough lesson. Best wishes to Miranda as she tries to rebuild her romantic relationship. Maybe when you're older you can rebuild your sibling relationship with her as well. Is it too late for his relationship with his sister? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I an idiot for asking my sister to contribute half the expenses of maintaining my mom's house? My mother only has one asset, her house. She doesn't have enough savings to bankroll her retirement. My wife and I pay for it. My wife is a doctor, so she makes great money and we can afford taking care of her. We have been sending her about 2 Kelvin a month for 5 years now. We also take care of any incidental, emergency expenses. We also have all major house repairs and I have never asked for my sister to contribute as she is not as well off as we are. My mom wanted to get her finances in order and she asked me to help. She talked about wanting to get her will written. She said she wanted to give the house to my sister. She has no other asset of note, and it would mean that my sister gets almost 90% of her assets. I have always known that mom would skew the inheritance more towards her, and I didn't mind that. I thought I could help my sister by helping her. My sister needs it more, and we are already doing so well. I am really upset by this. I know it is greedy to be focused on the house, but it makes me feel horrible. I am the one who is always with her when she is sick, and she practically cuts me off the will. My sister isn't struggling herself. She is comfortably middle class. If she was really struggling, I would have understood it. This was about a month ago. The house needs some repairs again, and my mom asked me to pay for it. I called my sister and told her that I want her to contribute for half the expenses. I know it is petty, but I don't get why I should pay for a house which I will never get. She talked to mom, and she is upset with me for asking my sister for money, and she thinks it is very petty and greedy of me to ask for money from someone who doesn't make as much as we do when we could afford it. I do feel like an idiot. I can understand why she is doing it, and if I think about it rationally, I can see why she would want to give the house to my sister, but I still feel horrible about it. She also feels that I am being a horrible sister by forcing her to pay for stuff and just dropping it on her head. Update. I was feeling a massive amount of guilt for my actions, but most commenters supported me. I talked to my mother about how much money we have spent on her and how much more we were planning to spend on her. She didn't budge at all. I was incredibly frustrated, and we ended up having a yelling match. She said she wanted her money to go to her real grandchildren and not to our children, who are adopted. It broke my heart. My children adore their grandma. They think the world of her. I have never noticed any favoritism in her behavior either. She always doted on them. I don't know where this is coming from. She then explained that the house was my father's hard-earned money, and she couldn't really give that money to people he didn't approve of. She told me he would have wanted this money to go to my sister and her biological children, not to children who didn't even look like him. I don't understand how she could pretend to love my children for a decade. I was fooled by it. Everyone was fooled by it. I can't even process it. We have stopped funding her retirement. She will have to sell the house. I talked to my sister. She cried when I told her what my mother had told me. She said she would handle buying our mother a new home. I haven't visited her in a month, and I am not planning to visit for a long time. Not the idiot. I'm so sorry, Opus. Please consider, though, that your mother may be in the beginning stages of dementia. One of the first things we noticed that was wrong when my mother started showing signs of dementia was that suddenly she started saying horrible things about her mother and her sister. The mother and sister she loved without reservation for her entire life were suddenly awful, the worst, abusive, and so on. Not the idiot. This behavior is completely out of line. That being said, personality changes could be a sign of early dementia. I say this because we had a family member suffer from Lewy body dementia, and you stated she hasn't acted like this ever before. So this sudden personality change is a big sign of some of these conditions. Just something to look into before going no contact. Do you think there is something else going on? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I an idiot for taking in my sister without giving heads up to my husband? Hear me out. I was at my parents' place. I was over to help my mom out with the garden. My younger sister is staying at home for college. It seems dad was yelling at her about something. He checked her phone and found that she is a lesbian. My mom was just watching her yell at him and backing him up. My sister was just crying. I am a pretty soft-spoken person, and I couldn't stop my dad from yelling, but when he was done, I told her to pack her stuff and took her to my place. She is a pretty sensitive person, and my parents are pretty assertive and rude sometimes. I tried to text my husband, but he was in a meeting and he rarely checks his phone while he works. He was surprised to find my sister in our home. I talked to him about it, and he's okay with it, but he is upset on 2 counts. The first being that I didn't give him any heads up, and he hates being surprised by anything, and that he will have to give up his quiet room which he uses to distress after work. He just hates having things jumped on him. He knows she has to stay here for a while, and it makes sense. I feel like an idiot, as I should have done things a bit more calmly. I should have talked to my husband before getting her out of there. I was pretty emotional during this whole thing. It was one of the worst things I have witnessed. I know much he loves his room and how great it has been to his mental health to have a place to be alone and process things. It has helped our relationship a lot. I feel like I am not prioritizing him here, and I took a major decision without consulting him. Update. This is a strange update. My sister moved out and ended up leaving within a month, but her stay with us was illuminating in many ways. The things my sister pointed to helped me realize that our marriage was designed to cater to all his wants and to meet the bare minimum of my needs. I tried to bring this up with him, small things which could make me feel better, but he didn't want to. I suggested couples therapy, and he thought it would just be a process of blame being pinned on one of us. I started therapy with my own money, and he was upset that I was wasting it when I was perfectly fine. I started to paint again, something that he didn't like, and he didn't scream at me. He just changed his routine a little so that I had less time to paint and make a mess, which he had to witness while I painted. My marriage was built around not making him sad. Throughout the relationship, I was the one who was responsible for his feelings, and I was the one who had to set mine aside to make him happy. I got out and I am living with my sister. They had an extra room they had been looking to sublet, and I took them up. It is funny that I end in the same position that my sister started out the post in. I am not happier. I miss him, and I have spent almost 9 years with him, but it is liberating not to spend hours molding myself to make him happy. I am a lot calmer now. I really want to thank the commenters who planted the seed of doubts about my husband. Not the idiot. I was really surprised that the original top comments were saying no idiots here. I didn't feel like your now ex had any right to be mad. He didn't get a warning, and it seemed crazy to me that he was more upset at losing his quiet room than your sister's situation. While he had a right to be a bit taken aback, the right response to your sister's situation should have been, oh my god, how awful. Of course she can stay here until we can sort something more permanent out. You made a brave, bold move and I'm glad you're healing. Remember that it is never selfish to take care of yourself, and sometimes that means putting yourself first. I'm happy for you, even if this will be a challenging time for you. You should be very proud of yourself, not the idiot. You are so lucky to be away from your narcissistic husband. Do yourself a favor and go through with the divorce with getting a legal separation now, or you may be surprised with debts he runs up to punish you for leaving him.